Hi, everyone. This is Bill Apter, and a lot of you know me as the world's most well-known pro wrestling journalist. So what you're about to see is something I rarely ever do. I don't remember the last time I've ever done anything like this, but I couldn't say no. I could not say no. This is me picking my choices in a bracket of 16 wrestlers and trying to come up with who's going to win every match and who the greatest wrestler in the world in history is. So I don't want anyone to take offense. This was a fun interview. And like I said during the interview, I could change my mind tomorrow, but I want you to enjoy this just as fun as dream matches and let us know what you think as well.
Ladies and gentlemen, what is a great honor for me to be joined today with the greatest pro wrestling journalist, reporter of all time, Mr. Bill Apter. Thank you very much for joining me in this interview.
When you say of all time, you make me feel like Muhammad Ali, who used to say, I'm the greatest of all time. But I'm very flattered. And I see in the background, hang on a minute, I want to show you something, that you've got your New York City background, and look what I got here.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's amazing.
This is beautiful. This is absolutely amazing.
It was taken from about 47th Street and Broadway one evening in Manhattan about 2 years ago. And yeah, but as soon as I saw your beautiful New York background there, all of us down here in Actors Alley, Bruno Sammartino, the Hulkster brother, we all were amazed at your New York City background.
Man, look at your office. It's absolutely mind-blowing and beautiful. I love it.
This is Actors Alley.
And you have your own podcast. It's called Apter Alley, Apter Alley as well.
Yes, that is correct. That is correct. It's called the Apter Chat, done here from Actors Alley. Yes.
So on today's episode, we are going to run the greatest professional wrestlers tournament of all time. I know this is absolutely tough.
Now, it's not just tough, but understand that it's rare that I do these things only because, and as soon as you called me, I said I do it for you, only because in the list of wrestlers that I came up with, there are wrestlers all over the world who are going to be angry at me saying, hey, Apter, why wasn't I on your list? I guess at this point in my career, after doing this for over 50 years, I'm going to go for it. First time, and it's for you.
By the way, this list is not overall Mr. Apter's pick. I have asked some friends that I really respect their knowledge in the business to nominate 16 wrestlers as the greatest of all time, and I made a list of the most common names, and I had 16 wrestlers down. Let's start with round one, the first match. Mil Mascaras going against Harley Race. Bill, Mil was in your list, and I was really interested for this choice. Would you like to tell the fans why Mil Mascaras? Of course, Harley Race is pretty well known, but Mil Mascaras, elaborate on your pick. Why you consider him as one of the greatest professional wrestlers of all time?
Well, hang on here. I just happen to have Mil Mascaras here.
Oh, look at
Well, Bill Apter. Bill Apter say, you're talking about the greatest wrestler of all time, and that's me. Now, he gave me this when he debuted at Madison Square Garden.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah, he gave me this mask. So, are you asking me to pick a winner between Mil Mascaras against Harley Race?
Talk a bit about the legacy of Mil Mascaras. What made him so great?
Mil Mascaras, and anyone who read the magazines that I used to work for knows why I've always admired him. He made everything he did looked so easy and so beautiful and so graceful. It was almost like watching a ballet when he was in the ring in his prime. He would he would slip out of holds. He was graceful, he was muscular. Everything he did was seamless. And there were a lot of wrestlers in the business who said they didn't like what he did in the ring because a lot of the things that he did in the ring were very repetitious and the same. But I saw hundreds of matches of his from first seeing him in Los Angeles, or as they say there, Los Angeles, at the Olympic Auditorium on TV when I was a fan watching that. And just the way he carried himself in the ring impressed me so very much. And when you talk about great wrestlers who keep their bodies and minds totally focused and sharp, Mil Mascaras, yeah.
Going against Harley Race, I know he's one of your close friends, the greatest wrestler in God's green earth, as he used to say.
He would say, Bill Apter, I'm the greatest wrestler on God's green earth. And you know when I tell you something, you know you can take it to the bank, and you know what that means. Harley Race was one of the greats, not only because he was such a fine technical wrestler, but in terms of intimidation factor, he was absolutely amazing. If Harley Race got hit by you 3 times, he'd come back and hit you back 6 times for those 3 times. Just the way he would be face to face with his opponent in the ring with the referee in the center, staring at his opponent, you would see instant nervousness or fear in the opponent. When you wrestled Harley Race, you were wrestling a man's man. So,
Right.
yeah.
So what is your pick to advance to the next round?
Now, again, this is very difficult for me to do because I'm friends with all these people on the list. I'm going to have to, and this is really going to upset me. This is going to upset me because of him, but I'm going to have to pick Harley Race only because, and it's not the intimidation, but the tough style, the ferociousness of Harley Race and the way he did everything, I think would have stopped Mil Mascaras in his tracks after Mil Mascaras and he were going about 60 minutes. It's very hard for me to call it. It could have changed. But if I had to give the edge to one person, I'm going to go with Harley Race. The knee drops, the pile drivers, the power of this tough SOB.
Amazing. So let's move to our next match. One of the greatest.
This is all going to get me in trouble. This is going to get me in trouble, but let's go.
But by the way, this is a list that we came like a collective of people, but you have to make the choices. So, and obviously it's the absolute elite of professional wrestling to have only 16.
Right, and this is as I mentioned when I gave you my list, that my list is not sports entertainers. My list is made up of pure wrestlers.
Pure ring performance.
Yeah.
So Luthez going against the Macho Man Randy Savage.
Oh, that's going to be very nerve-wracking to pick a winner in that one because you got the Macho Man, who is also very intimidating because you never knew where the Macho Man was going to come from. One day the Macho Man would be a little more mellow in the ring, and the next day he'd be that killer in the ring. Luthez, with his experience, with his technical expertise, will be able to figure out Randy Macho Man Savage, who was a good technical wrestler, but not like Luthez. Luthez would have been victorious. It would be Macho Man would have tried to figure out how to intimidate Lou Thesz. It just wouldn't have worked. Lou Thesz was the wrestler who could change his style to go against anyone. And I think Lou Thesz would have had some problems with Randy Savage, but not immense trouble with him.
And I think Lou had 58 years as a performer in the business. The longevity is absolutely mind-blowing.
Oh, absolutely. And in his prime, you know, you have to look at it that Lou Thesz was one of the great hookers, one of the great shooters of all time. You didn't mess around with Lou Thesz. Macho Man's little gimmicks there, brother, would not have worked against Lou Thesz.
Sure. This is a very interesting match as we are going
They
next.
all are so far.
Right now, both of these wrestlers are very similar in styles. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat against Bret the Hitman Hart.
Wow. And then you talk about one of the dream matches we would have done in the magazines. Both of them terrific. Bret Hart, the best there was, the best there is, the best there ever will be. Ricky Steamboat, the best there was, the best there is, the best there ever will be. Really, both of them. It's like mirror images because they're both such technical geniuses, both of them. And this is going to surprise a lot of people because Bret Hart is more of a shooter than Ricky Steamboat. But I'm going to say, and I don't know exactly how it would happen, but I think Ricky Steamboat's use of his martial arts background combined with pro wrestling would see him defeat Bret the Hitman Hart.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome. So Ricky Steamboat going to the next round. Our next match, one of your best friends for a very, very long time. I think you would know the name, the great Terry Funk against the Undertaker. I think this is a very intriguing match if it would had happened.
You know something, Bill Apter, if you don't pick me, I'm going to kick your ass. And that's it. The Undertaker might be a dead man, and when I get a hold of him and put him in the ground after, he's going to be dead. And I agree with the words of Terry Funk. Terry Funk, if he had to use 400 chairs, tacks, barbed wire, and everything, I know the Undertaker likes to sit up, do his thing, but I think Terry Funk in his prime, in his maniacal prime, in his NWA prime days, he would have had a lot of trouble with the Undertaker, but I think Terry Funk would have found a way to beat him.
You can't go against that.
By the way, I'm not picking Terry Funk or Ricky Steamboat or anybody out of favoritism. You're hitting me with these things, and this is like we did in the wrestling magazines, the dream matches. And to me, you know, why pick what everybody's going to think when I think it might be a little bit different? Make this interesting, baby.
No, definitely. And you already have your own justification. What would make such the wrestler win the match? Which it makes total sense.
Yes. Unless they paid off the referee.
Too bad TDBS is not on the list, so that would change things.
Well, there's one other guy that didn't make any of the lists that I want to put in as a run-in, and he is one of the most underrated wrestlers in the world, and nobody thinks of this guy as he could have been one of the best and greatest champions ever. From the United Kingdom, Doug Williams. Nobody thinks of him like, just you talk about an incredible wrestler. He was going to be my number 17.
Wow. I think after the interview, I need to explore more Doug Williams, especially if a guy like you put him over.
Great wrestler. I hope you're watching this, Doug Williams.
Speaking of the British wrestlers, the only British wrestler on the list, Billy Robinson, going against Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Here you have one of the best brawlers in the business, Stone Cold Steve Austin in one corner, and you've got Billy Robinson, who will want to wrestle Stone Cold Steve Austin. Austin was an excellent wrestler before he became Stone Cold. But I think that Stone Cold Steve Austin would win this match because the his ass kicking self would have gotten through Billy Robinson, who would keep trying to put on holds and submission holds, where Austin will just look like Mike Tyson wanted that knockout punch. Stone Cold would go right for the stunner, and as soon as he got it on him, 1, 2, 3, and the technical wrestler is history at that point.
Great
And
analysis.
that's the bottom line, son.
That's a great analysis. And like we wish we could have seen all these dream matches. Some of them they happened, but another, like the way you put the story of the matches, it's very intriguing for us.
Well, thank you, because this is the arena of our mind.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, this is interesting. A match that actually happened in North Korea. Ric Flair going against Antonio Inoki. Before answering, Mr. Apter, do you have any fun? I know you've been around the NWA like a lot of time. Do you have any fun, cool Ric Flair stories to share?
Oh, sure. One time I was on an airplane with him sitting in coach. He was in first class, and he had probably had a few martinis or something before. Anyway, during the middle of the flight, he was wearing his wrestling robe, and he started strutting down the aisle into the coach thing and opened up his robe, and he had nothing on underneath. So most of the
That's
women
Ric
went,
Flair, right?
"Woo!" I did not.
So, what would be like? Which wrestler is going to win the matchup? Ric Flair against Antonio Inoki.
Well, again, you have a Ric Flair had a great background of technical wrestling as well as brawling. Inoki, the same thing. So I'm going to do something that nobody probably will be doing in this tournament, but I'm going to say that's going to be a 60-minute draw.
Wow. So, which means
They
shall
both advance.
they both? Oh, but so the next round will be a triple threat tournament. That's a great twist.
I love this. I'm having a great time.
This
I think let's go back to Inoki against Ric Flair. I think Inoki's martial arts would have taken a toll on Ric Flair, like Ricky Steamboat's martial arts took a toll on Ric Flair. So I think the bottom line, even though this would PO Ric Flair, bottom line is I think Inoki in his prime would have beaten Ric Flair.
That's the upset of the tournament. So Antonio Inoki is eliminating Ric Flair. Nobody saw that coming.
By the way, if Ric Flair is watching this, remember we're talking about Inoki in his prime, so you would have been younger than Inoki at that point. So I think given the time of Inoki's prime, that's what would have happened. Going during your prime years, Ric Flair, could have been the other way, but I think I'm talking about the prime of these wrestlers. Yeah, yeah.
So like totally different legacies, totally different wrestlers. The eighth wonder of the world, Andre the Giant, against Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid.
Wow. Well, hold on a minute. I need to, let me see. So this guy, this guy, he would have said to me, he would have said, "Okay, boss, you bring him into the ring." Shawn would have put up a great fight. Shawn would have done aerial attacks all over the place, but Andre would have beat him.
Definitely, it's taught. You cannot like beat
There he is in the ring after the match, the winner, Andre the Giant.
And a beautiful figure, by the way, it's like from 1985, Andre from WrestleMania 1.
Let me show you something else, please, while we're doing this. Here at Apter's Alley, and
wow,
way back This is way back of me and Andre in Houston, Texas.
Which year was that taken from?
Mid 80s, probably somewhere. I'm not sure. I'm
And
terrible with
it's
dates.
and I'm sure like we didn't see Andre posing for picture. He must have liked you so much.
He and I got along extremely well. He was always nice to me.
Right.
He always treated me excellently, and yeah, he was a good guy. If he liked you, he was your best friend. If he didn't like you, watch out.
Our final match in the tournament, I think this is the toughest match, maybe. Two of the like greatest box offices wrestlers of all time, Bruno Sammartino going against Hulk Hogan. Here is the question, like for you, Mr. Apter. Like a lot of people, they would think Hogan exploded and like when he came to the WWF in his second run, 1983. But how popular was Hulk in the AWA and in Japan? He was already huge,
Oh,
right?
it was huge in the AWA. I photographed that match where he beat Bockwinkel and he took the belt, but it was reversed match. I was there. He was in Japan. In Japan, he showed when he wrestled Inoki, he showed that he could wrestle, that he wasn't just show business because he was trained by Hiro Matsuda, who was
Yes.
his dojo. So we're talking Bruno Sammartino.
It's
Hang on a minute.
beautiful figure of Hogan.
Hold on a minute. So we're talking this guy
Right.
against this guy, right?
Wow.
Can you
Right.
see this
So
clearly?
let's make it interesting. Bruno Sammartino in the 70s going against NWO Hulk Hogan. What is your pick?
Against NWO Hulk Hogan?
Because
Wow.
you had an NWO.
So we're talking about this guy, Bruno Sammartino, in his prime against NWO. Can you see him back there?
That's right.
NWO
Yes. Good.
Hulk Hogan. So, brother, here's what's going to happen, man. See, Bruno, first of all, would have gotten on the interview and going, you know, this Hogan guy, he comes out, doggone it, with this Nash guy and this, but doggone it, you know I'm going to beat him. And Hogan would have said, what you going to do, Bruno? Well, it's a different Hogan. But
Yeah. He still is.
so I'm going to pick Bruno Sammartino on that.
Wow.
The
Awesome.
NWO Hulk Hogan was not Hulk Hogan in his prime.
Right.
The NWO Hulk Hogan was fabulous. He was my favorite incarnation of Hulk Hogan. Absolutely. And the NWO just on July 7th of this year, 2020, just celebrated their 24th anniversary. There's never been anything like the NWO. But Bruno Sammartino against the older Hogan, Bruno would have won. Bruno
Awesome.
Sammartino against Hulk Hogan, the guy with Hulkamania running wild, a great showman and all that, but Bruno was all business. Bruno was no show. Bruno was all business. Bruno Sammartino.
Awesome. So now it's time to move to the second round. We have 8 wrestlers left. Harley Race going against Luthez. Which wrestler you
Oh
would
my
pick
God!
to
What a
advance to the
dream
semifinal?
match. That is such a tough pick because they both were. Thez more scientific than Harley. Harley tougher than Thez, somewhat. It's a really hard call, but I'm going to say that Luthez with more experience than
Well,
Harley Race.
yes.
I'm
Then
going to
Harley.
put Luthez over. Yeah.
And I think in a way it's like Luther was kind of the teacher or the to Harley, right?
Well, he
Like he was
inspired
kind
him.
of his.
He inspired
Yep.
him. But I think Harley would have put up the toughest fight Luthez ever had.
Yep.
But in the end, it would be the Thez press, and Thez would win. And I think that Harley would have no shame losing to Luthez.
Definitely. This is another like tough choice. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat against Terry Funk.
Very tough match, and it probably happened before.
Yes.
And I'm going to give Ricky Steamboat the nod on this one. I think Ricky Steamboat.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. I think Ricky Steamboat.
wow.
I think the reason being, I think Terry would have become more careless because of his extreme ways, and I think
Right.
Ricky Steamboat would have
Would
outsmarted
outsmart
at
him.
that point. Yes, yeah.
Totally makes sense. Steve Austin against Antonio Inoki.
Steve Austin against Antonio Inoki. I'll pick Inoki in that one. I think again the
Oh,
martial arts. I think again the martial arts of Inoki will work through the toughness of Stone Cold Steve Austin. Really do. Remember, I'm a guy who is more partial to the wrestler type, where
wrestling.
Stone Cold is more of a brawler. Antonio Inoki was a martial arts guy, but also a fine technical wrestler.
By the way, I have a lot of friends in Japan. I am sure they are very happy to see like Inoki as the dark horse in this tournament.
Okay, okay.
Our last match in the second round, I think it has been talked about that a match that maybe it was planned to happen. Maybe you can tell us an inside story. Andre the Giant against Bruno Sammartino. Was that match supposed to happen in the
No,
70s?
no, I don't
Okay.
think Vince McMahon Sr. Pretty much handled the bookings of Andre, and I think that usually a fan favorite against another fan favorite was not
Yes.
something that Vince Sr. promoted, and I don't think it would have been that attractive of a match either. So
Oh, okay.
we're looking now at Bruno against Andre.
Right.
So I'm saying that because of the way Bruno Sammartino handled Haystacks Calhoun, the
Yes.
601-pound man from Arkansas, from Morgan's Creek, Arkansas, and picked him up, didn't body slam him, but Bruno was able to lift him and handle the bigger man and figure out how to handle him. And remember, Bruno also wrestled Giant Baba many times in the 60s in New York. And Bruno
Right.
was able to beat Giant Baba. I think Bruno Sammartino would have been the victor over Andre.
Because he had the experience with the big guys. Awesome.
Absolutely. He knew how to break big guys down.
So we reached to the semifinal.
Remember, by the way, remember that tomorrow I might change my mind about all of these. But
So
for
this
tonight, this is where
right.
we go.
So Luthez going against, I think if it was happened like in the 70s against the young Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
Well, there's by the 70s now, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, I think would, be the younger choice to do this, but I still think that Luthez, we're talking about older Luthez against younger Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
Let's say the match would happen in the 70s where both would have been active wrestlers. So maybe, yes, an older Luthez.
Older Luthez, I'm going to give the nod to Luthez at that point, too.
Ooh.
I think the experience over youth. By the way, we skipped somebody who was on my list.
Who was it?
It's Ivan Koloff.
Jack. Yeah, Ivan Koloff, right. But as I said, I had added the most common people on the list.
Okay. I mean, he was on my list. Jack Briscoe was on my list.
Jack Briscoe, that's right. Dory Funk Jr. as well.
Yeah, and Dory Jr., especially when you're talking about people like Luthez, you have to talk about Dory Funk Jr. and Jack Briscoe in that same sentence.
Wrestler, right?
Okay.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So
we need a battle royal. We need a battle royal with all these people in it. But go ahead.
We'll call it the greatest wrestlers battle royal.
Yes, we'll do that another night. Definitely. We need to do that.
The second match in the semifinal, the dark horse in this tournament, Antonio Inoki against Bruno Sammartino.
I'm going to pick Bruno Sammartino in that match.
Oh,
I think there's going to be a lot of respect between the two of
right.
them, but I think that Bruno Sammartino uh, in this match would change the way he did things many times in this match. But he was one of these wrestlers, again, like some of the other people we talked about, who could change what he was doing mid-match, early match, late match. And I think that the backbreaker, if he could get Inoki in that or weaken him with the bear hug early on, I think that's what would take its toll on Inoki to keep Inoki grounded and not let Inoki do
Definitely.
a lot of his martial arts moves or flying moves. I think that Bruno, the sure-footed wrestler, would have won that one.
So the final, I love like these two finalists and the picks. We have the greatest maybe NWA champion of all time, Luthez, going against the greatest WWF champion of all time. Before like crowning the greatest wrestlers of all time, did this match actually happen? Do you know if it's
No, it
actually
was
happened?
supposed to. We did
Oh,
before I was with the magazines, there was a cover of the magazine, Luthez versus Bruno Sammartino for the undisputed World Heavyweight Championship. I don't think it ever happened. It
oh,
definitely happened. It wasn't for any titles. Maybe it was at a small place, but it never happened. I'm going to cop out on this, and I'm going to say that this would be one of the most incredible 60-minute time limit draws ever
wow,
in history. And they would go on to have several rematches, and they would both split one match each. And that first match would be, we'd have a draw and
right.
one match Luthez, because I think at the point when they were both at the top of their game, they were both undefeatable.
Wow. It
Yeah,
makes sense. So we have like Luthez and Bruno Sammartino as the greatest wrestlers of all time. These two, we couldn't like, they had the privilege to win the brackets, right?
that's correct. But remember the people we didn't put in here. Again,
Yep.
Dory Funk Jr., Jack Briscoe, Ivan Koloff. I
Ivan
mean,
Koloff,
these
right.
three people that were on my list that were extremely important because when
And
you
you
talk,
have, I think you have a Triple H and Kurt Angle, I think. Was it
yes,
Triple H?
well,
Yeah.
not Kurt Angle, but I had Triple H in there
You
as
had
well.
Triple H.
And Triple H against some of these guys, like I would have loved to have seen Bruno in his prime against Triple H in his prime. I thought that would be incredible. Yeah.
Right.
Ivan Koloff against Triple H in his prime would have been incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, yes, that's would have been an absolute and amazing matches. So, Mr. Apter, it's been one of my favorite interviews I have ever
Well,
done.
me too.
I had
I've
the
enjoyed this, and I please fans and people in the wrestling business take no offense at my picks. We're doing this off the top of our heads here. It's like dream matches that we used to do in the wrestling magazines. So I don't want anybody to be upset at me. And everybody, some people are going to watch this and say, Apter's out of his mind. That's true. But these are my picks from tonight off the top of my head that if I was sitting down watching this match, who I think would be the winners of these dream matches of all time. Yeah.
I think, to be honest, like nobody would have the credibility to like make such decision like with the person with your experience and your longevity in the business. And one last thing, one of the best wrestling books of all time that has ever been written is Wrestling Fixed. I didn't know it was broken. I have it in my library.
And I have it in my library. Thank you so much for, and you know what Jim Cornette said about my book? Jim Cornette says, Bill Apter's book stinks because he doesn't bury anybody. I don't say anything bad about anybody in this book. It's road stories of me with the wrestlers. And it's, I've been doing this 50 years and hopefully I'll do it another 50 years. Um, but yeah, this is my ride through the pro wrestling business that's still going on. So I'm still writing as I'm going on here, but yeah, and I want to thank everybody all over the world for following me on Twitter at Apter1 Wrestling. That's the number one, not the word, Apter1 Wrestling, and I'm on Facebook. And for wonderful people like you who reached out from the other side of the world and said to me that you're a fan of mine and you've read me for your whole life. I really appreciate that. That means more to me than anything. People said, when am I going into the WWE Hall of Fame? My Hall of Fame is the fans. Now, if you look over here, let me see if I can show this to you. Oh, no, hold on a minute. I have a ladder over there with all my Hall of Fame awards. I'm in 16 different Hall of Fames.
Absolutely beautiful.
My Hall of Fame, though, is the wonderful people like you and the fans in your country, the fans where Ali is in Qatar, the fans in Japan, England, Saudi Arabia, Israel, everywhere, Great Britain, here in the United States of America, fans all over the world who've been nice enough to embrace me. Brazil, Costa Rica. Puerto Rico. I don't want to forget anybody.
I'm going to end it the same way like I started. Ladies and gentlemen, you was with the greatest professional wrestling journalist reporter of all time, Bill Apter. Thank you very much, man.
And I'll see you eventually at the matches.